about distinguishing poetry from prose. What is the difference between poetry and prose? Teachers of English.
The language.
The language. How language is used. In that, in poetry,
Poetic.
it is poetic. In prose,
Continuous. Continuous process.
continuous prose. Uh-huh. Suffered.
I think the language that is used in poetry, so sometimes the language does not mean what, like I can use a bottle, but the meaning that is there is not the bottle. The bottle can mean some other things. But in prose, we use the language that as it the way it is.
Thank you. So we are supposed to talk about the sources of poetry. We go deep in this. We talk about the sources of poetry, and I did my own research and I have them with me. So sources of poetry, you can talk about thematic ama experimental sources. We have thematic or experimental sources. So here they draw from emotions. They can also draw from nature. They can draw from social and political conditions. So another source is historical traditions. Under historical traditions, here we talk about the collective unconscious. They can draw from things that have happened in history and all that. They read something and then they come up with the inspiration. And then we also have poetic inspirations. And under poetic inspirations, we are told that in the past, we're talking about oral literature. So oral literature, these are things that used to happen in the past. So in the past, there was this goddess known as the goddess of inspiration, who would come to people and then he would inspire them to write stuff. So next, we're having the categories.
Excuse me, madam.
Yes.
So under poetry, the sources of poetry are saying the sources of poetry, the thematic poetry, the meta sources,
We
isn't it?
have
And then the thematic we draw from nature, emotions, social and political, isn't it? Conditions, that's what you say then. And then on the historical conditions, I had historical conditions,
historical traditions.
traditions, yes. So under historical traditions, that is where we talk about the history.
Yes.
So I want to ask, what the difference between the political conditions and the historical conditions, because you're talking about history.
Okay, and the political conditions. And the political conditions.